The living room was dim, lit only by the flickering images from the TV that cast long shadows across the floor. Mark was sprawled on the couch, his eyes glued to some action-packed movie that I couldn't care less about. It was now or never. I'd spent weeks mustering the courage for this confrontation, my heart heavy with a decision that would alter the course of our lives forever. I stepped in front of the television, effectively blocking his view. "Mark, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. He sighed, visibly annoyed, and tried to peer around me. "Can it wait? You're blocking the good part." This was it, the moment I'd feared and fantasized about in equal measure. "No, it can't wait. Mark, I'm leaving you." For a moment, there was silence, the kind that screams louder than any words ever could. Then, with a nonchalance that stunned me, he responded, "Okay, but can you move? I can't see the TV. And grab me some apple fritters from the kitchen, will you?" I felt as if I'd been slapped. "You're not even going to ask why. After everything we've been through, you're just going to sit there and ask for apple fritters." My voice was rising, a crescendo of disbelief and anger. Mark finally turned to look at me, his expression one of mild inconvenience. "Why?" "Because you're unhappy, Claire. Because I work too much, or I don't listen, or some other reason you'll come up with. It's always something with you." The casual dismissal of my pain, of our shared history, ignited something within me. "You think this is easy for me. You think I want to leave. But I can't do this anymore, Mark. I can't be the only one trying to keep this marriage alive." He stood up then, facing me with a coldness I hadn't seen before. "So go. Leave if you think that'll make you happy. But remember, it's not just me you're walking away from." His words were a dagger, sharp and precise in their aim. We stood there, locked in a stalemate, the air between us charged with years of unsaid words and unshed tears. "I thought you'd fight for us," I whispered, the fight draining out of me. Mark's response was a shrug, a simple, heartbreaking lift of his shoulders. "I thought you'd never give up on us. Guess we were both wrong." With that, he turned back to the TV, effectively ending the conversation. I was left standing there, invisible in my own home, my decision cemented by his indifference. The confrontation I had braced myself for had unfolded in the most unexpected way, leaving me more determined, but infinitely sadder than I'd ever been. The silence that followed my declaration was deafening. Mark's indifference was a cold, hard slap to my face, a clear sign that the love and warmth that once defined our marriage had evaporated into thin air. But I wasn't ready to retreat into the night, not without letting out the storm that had been brewing inside me for months. "Why, Mark? Why have you let it come to this?" My voice broke the silence, a mix of desperation and anger. He finally paused the movie, turning to face me fully for the first time since our conversation began. "Let it come to this. Claire, you're the one walking out. You're the one giving up on us." I laughed, a bitter, humorless sound. "Giving up? Mark, I've been fighting a losing battle. And what have you done? Buried yourself in work, ignoring our problems, pretended everything was fine." He stood up, his height suddenly imposing as he stepped closer. "And what about you? Always finding faults, never satisfied. How do you think that made me feel, Claire? Unwanted, that's how." The accusation stung, more so because there was a grain of truth to it. "I just wanted you to notice me, to fight for us. But maybe I was asking for too much." "Notice you?" His laugh now mirrored mine in its bitterness. "Or was it someone else you wanted to notice you? Your late nights, those secretive phone calls. Don't think I haven't noticed." I felt as if the ground beneath me had shifted. "Are you accusing me of cheating?" The absurdity of the accusation momentarily took my breath away. "Shouldn't I? Given how distant you've been, it's not a far leap to make, Claire." The room spun as his words hit me like a physical blow. "You think so little of me, then?" My voice was a whisper, my defenses crumbling under the weight of his misplaced distrust. He sighed, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "I don't know what to think anymore. All I know is that we're here, at this point, accusing each other instead of fixing what's broken." The truth in his words was a cold shower, dousing the flames of my anger with the chilling realization of our shared culpability in the erosion of our marriage. Maybe you're right. Maybe we're both to blame. For a moment, it seemed as if the barriers between us could be breached, a momentary truce in our ongoing battle. But the damage was done, the words spoken could not be taken back, and the path to reconciliation seemed more like a bridge too far. As the accusations ceased and the room settled into an uneasy quiet, the gulf between us had never felt wider. The realization that love could mutate into something unrecognizable was a bitter pill to swallow. And as I looked at Mark, I couldn't help but wonder where we had lost our way. The days that followed were a blur of silence and evasion. We moved around each other like ghosts, haunting the remnants of a life we once cherished. But the specter of Mark's accusation lingered, a poison seeping into the already gaping wounds of our relationship. It was late Thursday evening when the truth decided to show its ugly face. I was in the kitchen, lost in the mechanical process of making dinner, when Mark walked in, a manila envelope in hand. The look on his face was one I couldn't decipher, a mix of anger, sorrow, and something else, something akin to defeat. "Mark, what's that?" I asked, my heart rate picking up, sensing that the contents of that envelope were about to change everything. He didn't answer right away, instead placed the envelope on the kitchen island, sliding it across to me. "Evidence," he finally said, his voice hollow. I opened the envelope with trembling hands, my mind racing with possibilities. But nothing could have prepared me for what I found inside. Photos. Dozens of them, of me and Alex, my coworker, in various settings, at the cafe, walking in the park, laughing together at some shared joke. Innocent moments, captured and twisted into something they were never meant to represent. I looked up at Mark, my eyes wide with disbelief. "Mark, these are not what you think. Alex is just a friend, that's all." A friend. His laugh was sharp, cutting. "Claire, these photos tell a different story. How long has this been going on?" I shook my head, desperation clawing at my throat. "Nothing is going on. Yes, Alex and I spend time together, but it's not what you think. We're just friends, Mark. You have to believe me." He stared at me, searching my face for the truth. "I want to believe you, Claire, I really do. But how can I? After everything, how can I trust what you're saying is true?" The pain in his eyes was a mirror to my own. "Because you know me, Mark. You know I wouldn't do that to us. Yes, we've had our problems, but I wouldn't betray you like that." For a long moment, he said nothing, the silence between us stretching into eternity. Then, quietly, almost to himself, he said, "Maybe I do know you. Or maybe I never really did." The air between us was charged with a tension that felt almost tangible, a testament to the fragility of trust and the ease with which it can be shattered. "Mark, please." I reached out to him, my hand shaking. "Let's talk about this. Really talk. No accusations, no defenses. Just us, trying to find our way back to each other." He looked at my outstretched hand, then at me. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I saw a glimmer of the man I fell in love with, the man who used to believe in us above all else. "Okay," he said finally, taking a tentative step forward. "Let's talk." As we sat down at the kitchen table, the photos forgotten for the moment, I realized that this was it. Our last chance to mend what had been broken, to clear the misunderstandings and unveil the truths we had both been too blind to see. It was going to be a long and difficult conversation, but it was one we desperately needed if there was any hope of salvaging the love that still lingered, buried beneath the pain and betrayal. The kitchen table, once a place of silent meals and unspoken grievances, had now become our ground zero for truth. The air was thick with apprehension as Mark and I sat across from each other, the evidence of my supposed betrayal laid out between us like a chasm. "Mark," I began, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside, I need you to listen to me, really listen. There's nothing between Alex and me. He's been a friend, yes, but it's not what you think. The truth is," I paused, gathering my courage. "The truth is, I've been planning something for us." Mark's eyebrows knitted together in confusion. "Planning something? What are you talking about?" I took a deep breath, knowing how far-fetched my next words would sound. "I've been working with Alex because he's been helping me plan a surprise for you. It's our anniversary coming up, and I wanted to do something special, something to show you how much I still care, despite everything." For a moment, Mark just stared at me, the skepticism clear in his eyes. Then, slowly, he spoke. "A surprise. For me. Why didn't you just tell me?" I smiled, a sad, wistful smile. "Because I wanted it to be a surprise, Mark. I wanted to see that look in your eyes, the one you get when you're genuinely happy. I miss that look. I miss us." Mark leaned back in his chair, running a hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration and confusion. "Claire, if that's true, why all the secrecy? Why not just tell me?" "Because," I hesitated, searching for the right words, "because we've been so distant, Mark. I was afraid. Afraid that you'd dismiss it, or that it wouldn't matter to you anymore. I thought if I could just pull this off, maybe it could be a step towards fixing us." There was a long silence, a heavy, pregnant pause, where the weight of our past and the hope for our future hung in the balance. Finally, Mark spoke, his voice softer, tinged with the beginnings of understanding. "Claire, I don't know what to say. I've been so caught up in my own hurt, I didn't even consider that there could be another explanation." I reached across the table, my hand hovering over his. "It's not just on you, Mark. I should have communicated better, been more open. We both let our fears and insecurities drive us apart." Mark took my hand, his grip firm and warm. "So what's this plan of yours then?" A tentative smile played on his lips, the first genuine smile I'd seen in weeks. The tension between us began to dissipate, replaced by a cautious optimism. I started to explain the details of the surprise, how Alex, with his connections in the travel industry, was helping me plan a second honeymoon for us. A chance to start over, to rediscover the love that had been buried under years of neglect and misunderstanding. As I spoke, Mark's expression transformed from skepticism to wonder, and then, to my relief, to excitement. It was a small step, a fragile beginning, but it was a start. For the first time in a long time, we were talking, really talking, about our hopes and dreams, about the possibility of a future together. The plan, once a source of contention and misunderstanding, had now become a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of communication and the resilience of love. It was going to be a long journey, fraught with challenges and the need for forgiveness, but as we sat there, hand in hand, it felt like we were finally moving forward together. The weeks that followed were a testament to the transformative power of vulnerability and effort in a relationship teetering on the brink of collapse. Mark and I, once ensnared in a web of misunderstandings and hurt, began to weave a new narrative, one threaded with hope and mutual respect. The surprise trip was no longer just an event to look forward to. It became a symbol of our commitment to rebuild, to strive for a future we once thought was lost. One evening, as we sat together planning the details of our trip, Mark turned to me, his eyes reflecting a sincerity that had been missing for too long. "Claire, I've been thinking," he began, hesitating slightly, "about how easy it was for me to believe the worst. I'm sorry for not trusting you, for not giving you the chance to explain." I reached out, taking his hand in mine, feeling the warmth and strength that had once drawn me to him. "Mark, it wasn't just you. I played my part in all this too. I should have been more open about what I was planning, about my feelings. We lost sight of us somewhere along the way." He nodded, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "It's strange, isn't it? How we let small things build up until they become insurmountable. I don't want that for us. Not anymore. I want us to be able to talk about anything, no matter how difficult." A smile tugged at the corners of my lips. I want that too. And maybe this trip can be our fresh start, a chance to leave the past behind and look forward to what's ahead. Mark squeezed my hand, his smile mirroring mine. A fresh start. I liked the sound of that. The day of our departure arrived with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. Standing at the threshold of our home, luggage in hand, I couldn't help but feel as if we were on the cusp of something monumental. Mark seemed to sense my apprehension, wrapping an arm around my shoulders, offering reassurance without words. As we traveled, something between us began to shift. The physical distance from our everyday lives allowed us to view our relationship from a new perspective, to appreciate the depth of our connection and the folly of taking it for granted. One evening, as we walked along a moonlit beach, the sound of the waves a soft melody in the background, Mark stopped, turning to face me. The moonlight cast a soft glow on his features, highlighting the earnestness in his eyes. "Claire, being here with you, away from everything else, I've realized something," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've realized that I fell in love with you all over again. Not because of this trip or the surprise, but because of who you are, because of your strength and your willingness to fight for us." Tears welled up in my eyes, emotion clogging my throat. "Mark, I feel the same. These past weeks, seeing how much effort you've put into understanding and forgiving, it's made me love you more, if that's even possible." We stood there, in the embrace of the night, letting the magnitude of our words and feelings wash over us. It was a moment of profound clarity, a realization that our love, though tested and frayed, was still strong, still worth fighting for. The transformation wasn't immediate, nor was it without its challenges. But as we returned home, it was with a renewed sense of purpose and commitment. We understood that the path to healing and rebuilding was paved with honest conversations, with acknowledging our flaws and working through them together. Our relationship, once marred by suspicion and silence, had found its way back to love and understanding. The journey was far from over, but we were ready to face it together, stronger and more united than ever before. The days following our return were filled with a newfound energy, a delicate dance of rediscovery and affirmation. It wasn't just about the physical reconnection, but a deeper, more profound seduction of the heart and mind. We were learning to fall in love all over again, peeling back layers of hurt and misunderstanding to reveal the raw and vulnerable love beneath. One evening, as we sat in our living room bathed in the soft glow of candlelight, Mark turned to me with a look of earnest curiosity. "Claire," he began, his voice a gentle caress, "tell me something about you that I don't know. Something from before us, something that shaped you." I was taken aback by the question, not expecting this form of intimate conversation. Yet, it thrilled me, the idea of sharing pieces of myself that Mark had never seen. "Well," I started, a nervous excitement bubbling within, "did you know I used to write poetry? When I was younger, it was my way of dealing with the world, a place to pour my hopes and fears." Mark's eyes lit up with interest, a smile playing on his lips. "I had no idea. Would you share some with me? I'd love to hear your words, to understand more of who you were, who you are." The vulnerability of the moment, of sharing a piece of my soul I had long since buried, felt like the ultimate seduction. It wasn't just about physical desire, but a longing to be known, to be seen in all my facets. As the days turned into weeks, our seduction of each other took on many forms. It was in the way Mark would leave notes for me to find, each a whisper of his thoughts and affections. It was in the way I would cook his favorite meal, a silent expression of my care and attention to his preferences. One night, Mark planned a surprise for me, a recreation of our first date. He took me to the same little Italian restaurant where we'd had our first meal together, the place where our journey together began. The nostalgia of the setting, combined with the effort he had put into arranging this surprise, was overwhelmingly touching. Sitting across from him, surrounded by the familiar sights and sounds of our past, I found the courage to voice my feelings. "Mark, all of this, it means so much to me. You seducing me not just with your actions, but with your heart, it's everything I've ever wanted." Mark reached across the table, taking my hand in his. "Claire, seducing you, winning your heart again every day is my vow to you. I want to know you, all of you, for the rest of our lives. I want to fall in love with you every day, in every way possible. The seduction between us was no longer just about reigniting physical passion, but about nurturing a deep emotional connection. It was about understanding and appreciating each other on a level we had never before achieved. We were not just husband and wife, we were soulmates, rediscovering the boundless depths of our love. As we left the restaurant, hand in hand, a sense of contentment enveloped us. We had found our way back to each other, not just to the love we shared, but to the profound connection that had first drawn us together. The seduction was complete, but it was only the beginning of our journey to keep the flame of our love burning brightly. The equilibrium we had fought so hard to achieve was once again under threat, but this time the challenge came from an external force. Mark had received an unexpected job offer, one that promised not only a significant advancement in his career, but also required us to move across the country. The news came as a bolt from the blue, casting a shadow over the sanctuary we had rebuilt around our relationship. That evening, as we sat in the quiet of our living room, the weight of the decision pressing down on us, Mark broke the silence. "Claire, I know this is a lot to take in. I never anticipated this offer, but it's an incredible opportunity. Yet, if it means risking what we've worked so hard to rebuild, I'm not sure it's worth it." His words hung in the air, a testament to the complexity of our situation. I could see the conflict playing out in his eyes, the desire to advance his career wrestling with his commitment to our relationship. "Mark, I understand why this opportunity is important to you. It's a chance to achieve everything you've been working towards," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. "But I'm scared. We've just begun to find our way back to each other. I'm afraid of what this change could do to us." Mark took my hands in his, a gesture of solidarity. "I'm scared too, Claire. But I also believe in us, in our strength together. Maybe this is a test, a chance to prove that what we have can withstand even this." We spent countless nights discussing our options, weighing the pros and cons, and exploring every possible outcome. It was during one of these discussions that Mark said something that struck a chord deep within me. "Claire, do you remember when we promised to face everything together, to always choose us?" he asked, his voice filled with emotion. "This is one of those moments. Whatever decision we make, we need to make it together. I won't go unless you're by my side, not just physically, but wholeheartedly." His words were a balm to my fears, a reminder of the commitment we had made to each other. It was a pivotal moment, one that required us to once again choose each other over the uncertainty that lay ahead. After much deliberation, we made our decision. We would embark on this new adventure together, not because it was easy, but because our love had proven to be stronger than any obstacle. It was a departure from the life we knew, but it was also a journey towards a new chapter in our story. The day of our departure arrived with a mix of apprehension and excitement. Standing at the threshold of our home, I turned to Mark, the reality of our decision settling in. "This is it, isn't it? A new beginning." Mark wrapped his arm around me, pulling me close. "Yes, a new beginning. But whatever happens, we have each other. That's all that matters." As we drove away, leaving behind the familiar for the unknown, I couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. Our relationship had weathered storms, emerged stronger from trials, and now, faced with a new challenge, we were ready. Ready to face the unknown together, with love as our guiding light. The departure wasn't just about leaving a place, it was about stepping into the future with courage, bound by the love that had survived the darkest of times. It was a testament to the power of unity, of choosing each other over and over again, no matter what lay ahead.